Okay, next we're going to put in our balancer shaft. We first get around the crankshaft gear, making sure it's nice and snug. All the belt is engaging all the teeth on the gear. Then we get as much as the slack out from this side, making sure we get as much as the slack out, and then it should just slide over our gear without much problem. Okay, and then we make sure that timing mark hasn't moved either. Okay, yeah, this is normal because if we go another teeth, it will move either this gear or the crankshaft gear. So this is normal, but once we put in the tensioner and whatnot, see, there we go, it will get that slack out. Okay, next we get our tensioner roller, and we shouldn't have much trouble getting this in here now. Okay, now to put tension on this belt, all you have to do is move this balancer shaft this way with where I'm to the up on the, pulling from this side, and that puts tension on the belt. Now we're gonna hand tighten it for now, and then we'll adjust the tension on this later after we put the timing belt and start rotating the engine and checking the tension on this. But if I had to guess, like right now, this is pretty good tension on this belt. Again, this doesn't have to have crazy tension on it. Okay. You know what? I'm actually just gonna torque this bolt down. I'm pretty confident this is the right amount of tension on this belt, and the torque spec for this is 15 foot-pounds. Okay. There we go. Okay, next we put in our crankshaft sensor. Torque spec for this should be about 6 foot-pounds, or just hand tight, it's fine. Okay, next you would put in this idler pulley if you took it off, and the torque spec for this is 30 foot-pounds. Okay, next we put in our timing belt tensioning roller. There we go. Okay, next we tighten this bolt down to 17 foot-pounds. There we go, and we'll leave that bolt, this one, loose for now. Oh, and just to make sure this still can turn after you torque this down. Okay, next, if you are going to be reusing your tensioner like I am, what you want to do is get this in a bench vise, or if you don't have one like me, you want to get this large C-clamp and use a large C-clamp to get that piston back inside. And as you can see, there's a couple of holes on the piston and on this casting that you put. Once you line those up, you put a nail or a drill bit, make sure it's something strong enough to keep it in place when you go to put this back on the car. And you want to run this down very, very slowly. This little space should take you a couple minutes to line up those holes. If you go too fast, you run the risk of damaging the seals and stuff inside of this thing, and then that wouldn't be good. Okay, also, if you're going to be using a large C-clamp like me, make sure it's you hold this, it has to be really even, really straight, otherwise it might slip, and then that wouldn't be good either for your tensioner. Okay, and again, I'm turning this, but this is going to take a while, so I'll fast forward it, but this should take you a couple of minutes. There we go. Now you want to slowly back this out, just in case this needle is not going to hold it. You want to know now. Okay, that's how it's going to look like. Should be good to go now. Okay, next you just put it on your engine, and then you tighten these bolts down. These bolts are about 20 foot-pounds, but you know, as long as you get them nice and tight, you should be okay. Okay, so before we throw in our timing belt, we need to make sure this is at the right spot, because this gear could be 360 degrees off, okay, even though we lined this up. And the way you do that, there's going to be a bolt on the front of your engine that I'll show you underneath your exhaust manifold, closer to the driver's side, that you unscrew that bolt, and then we're going to stick a 3-inch Allen key in there. If it goes all the way in, this is at the right spot. If it doesn't, we need to turn this one full rotation and then try it again. Okay, and there's the bolt. It's actually directly behind your exhaust manifold, okay, and it's not holding anything in, and it's going to be a 14mm bolt. Okay, as you can see, it goes all the way in. Now I'm just to make sure, I'm gonna rotate that oil pump gear and see. Okay, now I feel like it's blocked. I can still get this Allen key in there, but I would have to go in, you know, at an angle towards the top, but if I were to go straight, it's blocked. Okay, now this requires a special tool according to the manual, but you don't really need any special tool. You might need like the right size bolt would probably be more accurate, but anything that you can stick in here, you're gonna be able to feel. Okay, so right now I feel you know, there's a metal. There's probably the shaft behind this that's blocking this. So the first time we had it was the right spot. Okay. Okay. Next we remove our Allen key and put the bolt back on. It's a good idea to put some RTV silicone on this bolt so you don't start leaking oil from there. Okay. And also, obviously, again, don't forget to remove that Allen key before you start cranking the engine. Okay. Okay, next we're going to start putting our timing belt on, and it's a good idea to start feeding it from the top, okay? Okay, next what you want to do is put it around this tensioning idler pulley here, and then you put it around your crankshaft like that, and then while keeping it in place with your left hand, you put it around this oil pump sprocket. Like this, and then you put it around this idler pulley like that, making sure there's no slack between here and your oil pump sprocket. And after you get those in place, then you go back up top and put it around your camshaft. Okay. Okay, so next you want to come back to the top and put this on your camshaft sprocket. Again, you want to make sure that bolt on your tensioning roller is loose so you can get the slack you need, but still it's gonna be a bit of a tight fit. Okay, but if you were to pull on this belt a little bit, you want to pull on the left side. Okay, that's the tensioner side that you can always tighten up. Okay, but it shouldn't be super tight. Okay, you should be able to get this on here without much trouble. Okay. There we go. Okay, so next you want to come back down here and make sure all your timing marks are still in place. As you can see, there's our oil pump. The mark is where it's supposed to be. And same thing on this crankshaft gear and that balancer shaft pulley. And obviously you want to make sure the belt is routed correctly around this idler pulley and this tensioner pulley. And of course on the camshaft you want to check that timing mark too, make sure it's still in place. Okay. Okay, now there is a special tool that you would put in these two holes on this tensioner pulley, and then you would turn counterclockwise to apply tension to this belt. I don't have that tool, but there's not a whole lot of tension that you would need to apply to this to put tension on the belt. So I'm just going to use a screwdriver here on the side and then push it this way, and then you would tighten that bolt, which is a 14mm bolt. Okay. Okay. Again, you don't need to really go crazy and put a lot of pressure on this, but once you feel resistance, you just tighten this bolt down. Okay, and so to double check on this tension, according to all data, we need to remove this pin, and then we're going to rotate the engine, the crankshaft, 2 full rotations, line up all our timing marks, let it sit for 15 minutes, then come back and try to put this back in. If it goes in by hand or without much trouble, then you know you got the right tension on this belt. Okay. Okay, so after turning this crankshaft for 2 full rotations, actually, you know what? I actually turned it for 4 rotations because this oil pump sprocket, it lines up with everything after 4 rotations of this crankshaft sprocket. Okay, so there's our mark on the oil pump sprocket, and as you may be able to tell, it lines up perfectly. Our crankshaft mark, it's gonna be hard to show you, but it does line up. And also that balancer shaft gear also lines up. Okay, now we go back up top and check on our camshaft gear. Okay, and the mark on our camshaft gear also lines up with the mark on our valve cover. Okay, now we just let this sit for 15 minutes and then come back and see if we can reinsert that pin inside our tensioner. Okay, so it's been 15 minutes, so now we're gonna see if we can fit this back into this tensioner hole. And indeed we can. A little too easy actually, so I might have tightened this just a tad bit, but you know, this is definitely within spec. If you can't reinsert this pin into this tensioner hole, well, if you can get it through one hole and the hole that's inside the piston but not the other one, you're probably close enough. But let's say if the piston is just way up here and you can't get anywhere near the piston hole, then what you would need to do is take out this tensioner, tighten it down with your C-clamp, put this back in, and then come back and add more tension, loosen this bolt and add more tension like we did to this belt, by this tensioner to this belt, and then put this back, and then try this again. You know, pull this out, spin it your crankshaft twice, and then wait 15 minutes and see if you can put this back in. But you know, if you get close enough, you can fit this through the hole in the casting and the hole in the piston, then you're close enough. Okay. So what I'm going to do next is torque this bolt down to 39 foot-pounds, and then put the cover back on, get more coolant in the system. If I can, then I'm gonna put everything back together. I won't bore you with all the other stuff. It's just basically a reversal of removal. You're just putting the timing covers back on. There we go. Okay, also this balancer belt was a little too loose for my liking, so I added a little bit more tension. So you want to check on that too, and if it's too loose, you want to add some tension to it. Okay. Okay, so I just got done putting all the timing belt covers and the motor mount and everything back together. Now we're going to start the car and we're going to bleed the system. You bleed the system by first opening your heater all the way to the max, and then you start adding coolant to it. As you start the car and your car warms up, it's going to require more and more coolant. You keep adding until your engine starts to reach operating temperature, or your fans come on and off twice. That's when you stop. And then you turn off the car, you go for a drive, make sure it's not overheating or anything, and then the next day also, before you start the car, you double check and make sure that you got, if you need coolant, you add more coolant, and you check for low coolant levels a couple of times, and then you should be okay. Alright, so just got done running the car for about 15-20 minutes, and everything is in order. Everything looks and sounds good, so we're gonna wrap this video up. And this is not the hardest timing belt job, but it's not the easiest either, so probably shouldn't be your first timing belt replacement. Okay, so yeah, with that said, hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more like it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.